Welcome back to another episode of Into the Depths of Mystery. Today, we're exploring a chilling, supernatural encounter involving something many people take lightly, the Ouija board. As I always say, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let's dive deep into the horror. My name is Anna, and this incident took place in West Virginia, USA, during the peak of the 2020 COVID-19 lockdown. With strict restrictions and weeks of quarantine behind us, boredom and restlessness were eating us alive. There was nothing to do, nowhere to go, and every day felt the same. So my friends, Leah, Margaret, Heather, and I decided to escape the suffocating routine. We planned a 2-week stay at my parents' remote cottage in Summersville, West Virginia. Summersville is stunning. Dense forests, quiet lakes, rolling hills, and deep valleys. The perfect place for anyone who loves the outdoors and for 4 restless girls craving adventure. It felt like paradise. We packed enough belongings for 2 weeks, loaded everything into Margaret's SUV, and started our journey from Washington. We left at 5 a.m. when the world was still dark and silent, and after nearly 5 hours of driving, we arrived around 3 p.m. The cottage looked peaceful. It stood alone in the middle of thick trees. The isolation was extreme. No phone service, no internet, no modern comforts except basic electricity and running water. For the first few days, we hiked, swam, and enjoyed the freedom. But by the 4th day, exhaustion hit us hard, so we decided to stay inside the cottage, relax, and take a break from all the outdoor activities. Lazy day, listening to music, reading books, and simply resting. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. By evening, we wanted something fun to do indoors. That's when Heather said the words that changed everything. Let's try an Ouija board. None of us truly believed in spirits or the supernatural, but with nothing else to do, and with the cottage being so isolated and eerie, the idea suddenly felt intriguing. So we all agreed. We ate dinner early, then looked around for something we could use as a board. There was no paper in the cottage, so we grabbed an old painting that had been lying in a corner, flipped it over, and carefully drew the letters and numbers on it. We placed a candle in the center and used a glass as the planchette. At that point, we didn't fully believe in such things. We just thought it would be spooky fun. We placed our fingers on the glass and began to chant, "Good spirit, please come." And then the room changed. The air in the room grew heavier. Outside, we could hear the wind picking up, slowly at first, then stronger, as if something unseen had stirred the trees awake. Then the lights started flickering, and slowly, very slowly, the glass began to move. I felt scared, but I didn't want to show it. I forced myself to sit still, acting as if everything was normal. Heather leaned closer to the board and asked the first question, "Are you here?" The glass twitched, then it slid smoothly to the word yes. A cold silence fell across the room. Heather continued, "What is your name?" Slowly, the glass began to move again and typed a name, "Sarah." Leah's face turned pale and said, "I don't like this. We should stop this right now." I quickly agreed. "Yeah, Let's end it. This doesn't feel right. But Heather shook her head. Come on, just one more question. Then we'll stop. Margaret nodded, backing her up, and said, We already started it. One last question won't hurt. Even though Leah and I didn't want to continue, we reluctantly agreed. Heather looked at us. So what should we ask? I just told her, ask whatever you want and end this. So she did. Heather placed her fingers back on the glass and asked, What do you want from us? It spelled one terrifying word. You. All four of us gasped. That's enough, I said sharply as I stood up. We're stopping this immediately. Everyone agreed. We began chanting again. Good spirit, please go. Good spirit, please go. My heart was racing. I didn't want to be there a second longer, so I got up and walked to the bathroom to splash water on my face, hoping to calm down. But the moment I looked into the mirror, I froze. On the fogged mirror, someone had written, You. I screamed. My friends rushed into the bathroom, asking, What happened? I could barely speak, but I pointed at the mirror. They all went silent when they saw the word written there. And then the power went out. The entire cottage went pitch black. I couldn't breathe. I reached forward, trying to grab Leah's hand for comfort. She was standing in front of me, but the moment my fingers touched her skin, it was ice cold and coated in something slimy. Before I could react, Margaret finally managed to turn on her phone's flashlight. There was no one standing in front of me. My friends were all behind me. Whoever or whatever I had just touched, it wasn't Leah. My body started shaking uncontrollably as I told my friends what had just happened. Suddenly, we heard loud footsteps and a banging sound from the kitchen. We walked toward it slowly. With the faint beam of the flashlight, we saw a woman, a long white gown, soaking wet, dragging across the floor. Her hair hung over her face. She paced back and forth, silently. Heather called out, Who are you? The lady suddenly stopped walking. Then slowly, she lifted her hand and pointed toward the ceiling. Before any of us could speak, a deep, heavy thud echoed above us, as if something massive had dropped onto the roof. Outside, the wind howled like a living thing. Rain hammered the old cottage, lightning slashing across the windows. The entire house shivered with every thunderclap. We spun back toward the lady, but she was gone, vanished. Not a single footprint, not a single sound. And at that exact moment, Margaret's phone flashlight flickered and then died. Darkness swallowed the room again. Suddenly, a scream from the hallway rattled the house. That was Heather's voice. We sprinted toward the sound, our hearts pounding louder than the storm outside. Leah finally managed to get a flashlight on, and when the beam landed on Heather, we froze. Her face, it was slashed open, with 3 long, deep scratches carved by sharp nails. Fresh blood ran down her cheek. Her arms and legs were covered in dark bruises. That was the moment we realized, every second we stayed in that cottage was putting our lives at risk. We grabbed whatever we could find, snatched the car keys, and ran out into the rain. Somehow, we made it into the car and drove through the storm to the nearest town. Once we got the phone network, I called my dad and told him everything. He told us to get a hotel for the night. A few hours later, my parents and my friend's parents arrived. When morning came, they all went back to the cottage to see what had happened, and even they faced supernatural encounters inside that house. After that, we packed up and returned home to Washington. My parents later returned with several priests, hoping to cleanse the place, to quiet whatever was haunting it. But nothing worked. Every ritual failed. That cottage, whatever lives there, whatever Sarah's spirit has become, it refused to leave. And since that night, we've never gone back. Not once. Because I'm certain, absolutely certain, Sarah is still there, waiting for us. That is the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe, like, and share for more spine-chilling mysteries. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and stay out of the darkness.